The guest today is Tomer Joshua. He was the EMBA class of 2025. He run the Cornell Tech Runway Program, where startups come out from Cornell Tech, and we're in Cornell Tech today. So hi Tomer. What is the Runway Program at Cornell Tech?
Hi Tony, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure. The Runway Startup Postdoc program at Cornell Tech is a program that helps researchers and scientists experiment with entrepreneurship. We're helping them start startups, and we're also advocating for a few things by one of them is creating more ventures, more startups from the academic environment. And another one is enabling scientists and researchers different career paths versus directing them to only fulfillment in the academia or in industry. We are suggesting a third door, which is entrepreneurship. So we're seeing ourselves as a service to the research and scientific community.
Gotcha. Oh, very cool, very cool. What are like the dimensions of a program like right now? Like how many people go through it each year? What are the impacts of the program so far?
So we have about 6 to 8 teams a year, starting at the Runway. And under the umbrella of Runway, we also took the spin-out program that exists at Cornell Tech. So we get about 4 to 5 teams of that every year.
Okay.
And sometimes we have also Ignite startups from the Cornell Technology License Group or other corporate startups that are joining the umbrella. So we're growing. Cornell Tech incubates about 12 to 14 startups every year. And that's amazing to be a part of that and working closely with entrepreneurs and helping them in the earliest phases when they're really figuring out their models and their ventures. So I'm really exciting part to be a part of.
Yeah, that's super exciting. They all come from academia, so these are like PhDs and also recent grads from academia, and they would start their startup directly from there.
Yes, exactly. And Cornell Tech is a very special place for that, partly because of the studio program that all the students that are at Cornell Tech experimenting with building products, and some of them also continuing to build startups out of these products that they're practicing and building as part of the curriculum. And in the Runway Startup Postdoc program, we can actually hire individuals who graduated PhD in recent years for a postdoc position here at Cornell Tech, which means we can hire from anywhere in the world. So by doing that, we're trying to, again, advocate that entrepreneurship is a viable career path for academics.
Makes sense. And then so from academic, like what areas of academia are they? Like what's the example of academic research that people would be commercializing?
So we're focusing on digital applications specifically. So everything that have to do with AI, computer vision, large language models, all of these. We also work with sensors, so new ways to generate data. We had quite a few startups coming from that space. So it's different teams, and they're coming from different backgrounds. Some of them would come purely from the computer science or engineering background. Some of them would come more from bioinformatics or photonics background. So which is are all exciting, and we can work with those. Those are some of the topics.
Gotcha. So all kinds of science could be
I
commercialized.
would say we have a lot of health technology organically, so that's
that makes
always
sense.
something that I think we have sort of a bias into in a good way, because we are trying to get teams that making the world a better place, and clearly health technology, especially ones that is patient focused, making better outcomes, extending the quality of life for people is definitely things that we're interested in. And having Weill Cornell here across the river right there is a great addition, and we're trying to work closely with them in order to help startups in the healthcare space.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And then I'm trying to picture what are the inputs and what are the outputs? Like input, are they just done with their PhD? Do they have a company and a patent already? Or like what's the input and what's the output? Did they come out with a patent and with the 3 employees? What's the input and output?
Excellent question. So the input for the program, when we advertise the program, we say all you need is a PhD and an idea. So we get a lot of people in the idea phase. But we, in recent years, as we start to get more applications and the program started to grow, we also see people coming into the program also with actual products in the hands of users, paying customers as part of of these teams, which is wonderful, but we still are open for people with just the in the idea phase. The output I would describe during the program, we try to help them solve or measure 4 different things. One is their customers, how many customers have they got, or what type of pilots they generated with customers. The second one is the product. They need to build something that clients would be able to use. The third one is fundraising, how much funding they raised from not only investors, it could be non-dilutive funding, it could be other resources that are available for them, for example, accelerators, etc. And the last one is
employees hiring.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Tony. That's the team, building a team. So showing leadership by ability to build a team together to be able to drive all of these, build a product to deliver to the customer, then go and able to fundraise on. So thank you, Tony.
Yeah. And so they come out with like all the 4 of those pillars all well formed, so they're ready to take off.
So hopefully, and every team have a different journey, and some of them get co-founders, and then something happens sometimes, and they leave. Some of them get funding, and then doesn't manage to get to the milestones that they wanted, and companies shut down. We see a large percentage of companies still existing, growing. We have multiple companies that raise A, B, and C round. I think getting better ourselves in choosing the teams and building a program to help founders, specifically scientific founders, to grow as entrepreneurs. So we're getting better, they're getting better, and we're building better companies to change the world.
That's so great. So once you have a couple reps, you get better and better at it.
Exactly.
What are some examples of success stories that came out of it?
Yeah, excellent question. So on the first cohort, we had Asaf Glaser, who founded Nanit, which is a smart baby monitor. Nanit sold over $100 million in product and keeps growing. Today, they take the amazing data sets that they build of sleep analytics and looking for new applications in the clinical phase. So think about it in applying that, assess if sleep medicine is working well or not, what type of population might work better. So this is one example for something that was born for a very good reason, helping families assess and measure the baby's sleep, but it's now growing to become even more than that. So we're very proud to be a part of that. Another company that came, a spin-out company, we're very proud of, Hyro, 2 students who graduated from Cornell Tech, Rom and Israel, started a company way before, ChatGPT came out and others, and really working for quite some time now. Recently raised a round of 45 million to, I think, over 100 million in total raised, and they're growing very nicely, helping automate phone call centers, work specifically in the areas of health services. So trying to help patients having an easier communication with their hospitals or clinics or anyone that need to get service.
That's amazing. Wow. And then what's the curriculum like? Like after someone joins in with their PhD and the idea, and then they leave with the 4 pillars all built. Like what's the curriculum like to build up those pillars?
So our team build a curriculum for the scientists transitioning into entrepreneurship, right? It includes about 2.5 months of very intensive programming that covers from strategy to customer discovery, later on sales and marketing, product and project management, and also pitching. Everything that has to do with legal workshops or finance workshop with a lot of experts that are coming outside of academia to give talks, as well as professors, both from Cornell, from our partners in Technion, and from other places that are coming to participate. We have a great partnership with Jorge Torres from Yale, who's coming in and giving talks every year about how to understand investors and how to operate in the early stage startups and being thoughtful and build a community of supporters. So we have multiple people that are coming participating, and it's a true pleasure. We're always trying to improve on it. So we collect feedback from our participants, trying to understand what they want more of, what they feel like they're missing. That's things that we do. And it ends up in a demo day that we open for our group of supporters, mentors in the program, investors that are engaged in our ecosystem. And we're having everyone to kind of celebrate the hard work that put in by these teams. And I think, what we work most closely with them is to find customers and talk to customers. This is the most important thing that we do with them. It's kind of sort of trying to say, okay, now it's time to get out of the lab, get out of our heads, and go to talk to people and find what are the real challenges, and can we build something to address these challenges.
So there's like a pre-existing community that once they join Runway, they have access to this whole community of people.
Definitely. And some of the most important resource, I would say, for Runway is actually being part of a cohort that you build alongside other scientific entrepreneurs and the alumni of the program that are coming and giving talks and always very kind with their time and advice. And, they have a way to say, we've been there, we've done that. So if you have questions, come to us. And it's always amazing for me to see the generosity of these people coming, dropping everything else and the busy lives that they have and coming over here back physically to Cornell Tech and sharing their advice and offering more of it to the teams.
Yeah, that's super helpful to have. This is, I guess, like for the PhDs, a lot of times they come in knowing their area very, very well, but they have to expand beyond that domain.
Exactly. So being working on a PhD means that you're specialized in one specific topic very, very well, and and you're operating really in the cutting edge of it, which provides you with an expert. But not only that, it provides PhDs with a whole set of skills that they learn during their PhD, how to operate independently or is part of a team, how to research and how to conduct experiments. And for us, building a startup is really an experimental thing, because you have some basic assumptions and then you go out and you test the assumptions with real people that are potentially your customers. And by doing that, that's the way that we kind of encourage teams to get validation and get conviction that what they're trying to build is really needed before they build it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm trying to picture like looking backwards, like into their histories. Like at what point was the seed of entrepreneurship like started? Was it like when they were starting their PhD, they wanted to do a startup, or was it usually by the time they graduate, they want to do a startup? Like at what point, like how do they usually form?
It's a good question. I think that always with our teams and with our startups, there's no two stories that are alike. There's some people that came into their PhD knowing that they want to operate in computer vision and they want to improve something about computer vision, and they entered it and they found out a topic that they wanted to explore, and then they went on and built a company around it. And there's some people that just came across, sometimes not even their own research, a lab somewhere, and they said, oh, this is a really cool research, a really interesting application, and actually came to our program saying, hey, I want to license that. And we had a few teams that did that. So just not diving too deep into IP and patents, but we have teams that came with IP from their PhD or from other labs that they interacted with. And we had teams that came here and said, oh, I really know how to build AI, and I have some ideas of how to build IP and create companies around that.
So the company doesn't have to tie with their thesis from their PhD.
No, it does not. It does. Yes, we're just trying to be flexible about it as much as possible. Honestly, I was thinking about it yesterday. We have this focus here at Cornell Tech about digital technology specifically. And I would love if we could actually extend the program and say, okay, but if someone is doing material science or something that has needed wet labs because it's a new molecule or new biological application, we would love to have something that would address all of this community of researchers, which, by the way, there's approximately 50,000 people graduating PhDs just in the US every year. That's a big group of people that even if we can take 1% of it, think about how many entrepreneurs can come out of that and push the economy forward by creating new applications coming from cutting edge research. So just food for thought.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So right now, it's only like 5, 10 a year, around 5 to 10.
Yes,
So,
I would say we're in the range of 5 to 10 at the moment, and
yeah.
we're looking to grow the program. That's the aim
Okay.
for all of us here at Runway and at Cornell Tech.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that we operate most of our funding coming from philanthropical
Okay.
sources. So we're looking
Interesting.
for more philanthropical
Yeah. That way it'll
resources.
scale up a little bit more.
Exactly, especially in times like today, where the very everything that have to do with the government is very volatile. So
Mm-hmm.
there's need to kind of get a long-term support that we can anchor and use philanthropic money for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like we're talking like the SBIR grants, like
SBIR
yeah,
grants are
so
right
that's like
now
the
in the government,
traditional.
so a lot of our teams are utilizing
Mm-hmm.
SBIRs and STTRs as well.
Okay.
So those are funding that come from the government. And right now there is some uncertainty about the upcoming year
Yeah.
and what's going to happen with SBIRs. So that's definitely affecting some of our teams.
So is the goal to like SBIR grants traditionally bridged from idea formation to venture capital? So the SBIR was like the bridge. By the time they leave the program, is the goal to get venture capital funding at that point?
Again, case by
It's
case
case by
basis.
case, yeah.
Yeah, we just had a team that started the program and within a couple of months already raised venture capital fund.
Oh,
There are
okay.
teams that finish 2 years in the program
Yeah.
and don't manage to raise venture capital
Gotcha.
fund, which by the way, the venture-backed model specifically is not the one that we're definitely biased towards because a lot of startups are venture-backed.
Yeah.
But if we can get a startup to be, for example, bootstrap and get
Okay.
money from customers, which we constantly say, this is the best money you can get.
Yeah.
Money from your customers is a mix of validation and a great way to get resources. So if we can push companies to get money from customers first and maybe only, that's excellent, right?
Gotcha.
But it's true that in the technology space today, the most, I would say, popular is the venture model, right?
Yeah.
And we do have a lot of venture capitalists as part of our community and as
Yeah.
part of our advisory committee at Runway. We have an amazing advisory committee, and we're very lucky to have those people in the ecosystem, and they would give advice and share their support with any one of our teams, regardless if they raised money from them or not.
And that's also why the philanthropic's important because if they haven't raised, there needs to be some buffer to help them bridge.
Yeah, so the way that we operate is we're using the philanthropic funding in order to hire these PhDs for a postdoc position. We take equity in the company as the part of them for the spin-out is Cornell Tech. Part of it is the Jacobs Technion Cornell Institute. And the equity, if a company exits, which we had 15 exits by now, coming back to support more venture creation. So the goal is to keep growing the programs.
That's excellent. Are they usually able to build a product themselves?
It's a good question. It's again, each team and their set of skills. I would say that what we usually start with is definitely try to get validation from the market first. So interview enough customers to be able to understand what the customers actually want. Because if you build something and then you go to the customer and say, hey, do you want this? And they say no, then that was a waste of time building. So that's what we're trying to avoid. And that's a very kind of a classic we have in our mind. This industry would like this type of solution. So I go and build it and then I go and start talking to people. We try to flip it on its head and say, go talk to people, understand what they need, and then come back with what they said they want.
There's the building pillar, so that way they build something that's useful. And then the sales side, you have the whole community of people come in so they could help build up the
definitely
sales funnel.
We have amazing people who are coaching the teams on sales, specifically on customer discovery from multiple angles to really try to avoid biases, because once we have our thing that we have our idea in mind, we kind of try to look at the world through that lenses. And what we try to teach in customer discovery is actually to avoid inserting our own biases as much as possible in order to really understand the other side that sits across the table from us and really understand their needs and their pain points so we can build something for them. Now, there's a few other things you need to make sure. You need to make sure that it's a top priority for them. You need to make sure that they have money to pay for it. You need to make sure that maybe they, purchased similar services or products in the past, just to make sure that there's a path for this to happen.
Yeah, these are all things you don't have to consider as a startup. You need to consider them.
Every startup needs to consider them, regardless if it's a PhD or not. We just have the great privilege to work with really great scientific minds that also thinking about this from the business perspective. So we get a chance to really work with them about the business side of things.
Yeah. And about the funding, so you help them with the SBIR, STTR grants, the grants, and you help them introduce to VCs.
So I would say we're building an ecosystem to make sure that we have all these people, just like that we don't have the money like a VC. I will connect them with VC. Similarly with SBIRs, we will connect them with SBIR agencies that would be able to help them and guide them through the process if they want to pursue SBIR route.
Gotcha. And then the fourth one was the hiring, building a team.
Hiring, and
does it help with building a team as well?
Well, I have to say, being part of Cornell is an amazing resource, right? There's plenty of startups, and we have startups that are coming back here to Cornell Tech to say, hey, I want to hire Cornellians and people from Cornell Tech, and they're coming back to ask for people, and we constantly share it in the internal channels to enable students know that there's startups that started here at Cornell Tech, and they're looking to hire, they're looking to grow and keep the Cornell community engaged. So
that's wonderful. And then Tomer, how about your personal journey in this? Like, how did you get into this kind of work?
That's a good question. Personal journey, I would say that my career, I usually kind of split it into two parts. The first part was in managing educational programs. A lot of them were in academic institutions and environments. So I did a lot of work with different academic groups. And then the second part of my career was in early stage startups when I was a founder of a startup. I did some work on the investment side in startups. I worked with early stage startups to represent them in front of customers and investors. So really did a lot of work in the business side of early stage startups and really loved it. And when an opportunity came to work with Cornell Tech, I got introduced to Fernando Gomez Boquero, who's managing the program, and he was looking for someone to build the ecosystem, work on the curriculum, help with recruitment of PhDs, and I was lucky enough to get accepted, and I've been with the program for over 3 years now, and enjoying every minute of it.
So it fits together the academic work you did in the first part, the startup work you did in the second part.
But there's so much more to learn. While I was working in academia, I never had the chance to work really with the scientists. I worked a lot of it with undergrads, I worked with master students, but then learning about everything that have to do with IP, with licensing, with how labs operate, with how professors, with the incentive system inside academia, which, by the way, another thing we're trying to address, right? How to build more ventures, more startups from the academic environment. We're getting in touch with a lot of other great institutions really doing amazing work in these spaces, and learning from them and trying to advocate for more of it across the board, across the industry.
So I guess you're learning about it, the industry, like the whole academia is learning about it too. So everybody learns together.
Yeah.
Super. And then remember you did the MBA at Cornell as well? Like
I remember.
What was the employee degree program like?
Yeah, the employee degree program is an amazing opportunity that I was becoming aware of thanks to some of my colleagues at Cornell Tech, and they suggested that I'll take a look at it, and I applied. You apply and need to get accepted to the executive MBA program. There's 3 different executive MBA programs at Cornell, and you can apply to them, and the employee degree program sponsors most of the cost for you to join the program, and it's been a really amazing experience. Spent 20 months, half of my weekends, and 4 long residential sessions in Ithaca. That's 8 days in Ithaca, far away from my family, but very closely with my cohort members of the EMBA, and it was an amazing experience. I chose one of the programs that is called the Metro New York Executive MBA, and the Metro New York is meeting at Cornell Tech every other weekend, and does a full weekend, full day Saturday, half day Sunday of learning together. One of the models in that program is building high performing teams, which is a wonderful experience because you get a chance to be assigned with a team and then practice how to lead a team as part of it with the different missions, homeworks, the projects that you do. So that was quite an experience.
What are some like kind of pathways did the classmates
Oh
have
wow, they're
coming into the
so
program?
diverse. I mean, the cohort was super diverse from any perspective that I can imagine,
Wow.
from internationals to the different industries, to the different characters. Everything that you can imagine was on that cohort, and it was just a lot of fun. I think that naturally in New York you get a lot of financial
Oh yeah, that
people,
makes sense.
financial oriented people, but I think I would say it probably was somewhere between 20 to 30% of the cohort. But everyone were absolutely fantastic, and I think that I made friends from life in that program,
That's amazing.
and that's priceless.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite courses from the
Oh
MBA
wow.
program?
Definitely the one that Risa Mish led, Critical Thinking, was a phenomenal one. The one on corporate governance from Yaniv Greenstein was definitely a fascinating one. I really enjoyed the entrepreneurship, the investment banking, and really there was so much that was covered, but I really enjoyed the experience.
So it covers like how did it help with your day-to-day work after learning those
That's
concepts?
an excellent question. As someone who lives in the early stages of venture, I learned the business environment and across industries in and out from the life cycle of companies. So from founding a company all the way to getting into IPO and how it operates
Oh, wow.
after being in the public markets. So I think like I got a really wide understanding both across industries, but also how the business environment operates. And I have much well-rounded, if may it be macro economics or just different industries. It's been a great journey.
So it's very, very general, very broad. So it could
Yes,
cover all kinds of industries. That's up here.
exactly.
Huh, that's amazing. Let's see. You want to go back to the startup stuff?
Please.
Yeah. So for like these PhDs who are out there working on their thesis, for example, like is there ways they can dip their toes into entrepreneurship beforehand
Yeah, that's
rather
an
than just
excellent. Tony,
like
you have the best questions.
thank you.
I would recommend to, any PhD that
Okay.
might be hearing us, not only PhD, by the way, master students who are engaged with research as well, should know about the I-Core program. This is a National Science
I-Core.
Foundation program that is accessible to anyone in the US. You can apply to it and learn the basics of how to use tools such as the business model canvas to kind of outline your idea. Learn about the methodology of customer discovery, like I mentioned earlier, really understand how to find customers, interview them, try to avoid biases, and get data from qualitative to quantitative. So how we create conviction that an idea is actually valid, or the way that we use in the business model canvas is we say we're looking for, first of all, we're looking for viability, feasibility, but the most important one is desirability. So it's that someone really wants what I'm thinking to create. And that's going and checking what are the pain points that someone has and really trying to match them. So it's always start from desirability and then we go to viability and feasibility.
So this is the I-Core program.
This is the I-Core
It's
program.
available to everybody.
It's available to researchers in any academic institutions in the US. There are hubs that are managing it on behalf of the National Science Foundation. Cornell is actually managing one of these hubs in
really?
Ithaca
Oh,
that
wow.
service a lot of academic institutions in the Northeast, and yeah, doing an amazing job.
So the PhD student could be like their third year or fourth year of their PhD, not done with their thesis yet, and they could already take part.
I think it's never too early to look at entrepreneurship and experiment with it. And I think it opens up a whole new perspective that you can look at research. And I think we chatted a little bit before this talk, and we said, we talked about basic research and commercializing research and kind of the gap in between these two. I think the I-Core program really tries to address that. And it's a really interesting program, and I would encourage people just to even look at it, just to understand that there's resources there available, including funding, to go and interview and learn about entrepreneurship. And I think the more that we have great, smart scientists and researchers working on the cutting edge of knowledge, would be able to actually try and promote it and push it to market as an application, the better the world would be.
Try to picture like a PhD student in Ithaca. They're working on their PhD in the lab, in the chemical engineering building, for example. Like they would just step out of the lab and go to the I-Core info session?
That's a good question, right? And they
Uh-huh.
are working usually with a PI, with a principal investigator.
Okay, yeah.
Under them, they would do the research, and that would be something that they need to coordinate with the principal investigator,
Okay.
but it happens alongside the research. So
Okay.
these courses are taking place a few times a year,
Okay.
and they would be able to sign for ones that would be most suitable for them. They're happening also during the summertime, they're
Okay.
happening during the winter and the fall and the spring semesters. So it's really up to them to sign up. There's also two levels of it. There's regional courses that are managed by hubs, and there's also national courses. In the national courses, you can actually get significant amounts of money, somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000
Oh, wow.
to travel, go to conferences, and meet and interview people with the goal of really getting to 100 interviews on these
Interesting.
national ones. But in order to get to the national, you have to go through a
Gotcha.
regional I-Core. I've had the privilege to be an advisor with one of the teams that
Yeah.
went through a national. So I had a chance to see that. It's really dive deep into what I described earlier, the business model canvas, and trying to understand the basic strategy of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
It's amazing resource, and everybody should know and take a look.
Something like that adds a seed in their head that they should do entrepreneurship.
Yes, and I think everyone understands that it's important for us to take this knowledge as it was created in an academic environment and bring it to market. It benefits everyone, and I think the government is the first to acknowledge that and put funding into it. So it's good to know that this is something that is being perceived as a strategic priority, and we hope that it would continue to be.
Yeah. From like the PhD's perspective, yesterday I met a PhD who ended up going to a software company after her PhD, a software startup. Another one went into consulting with the management consulting firms. How are they thinking of their different options after they finish their PhD?
I think I had a chance to really connect with a lot of PhDs that were just looking for career advice.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
a lot of opportunity to engage with people who actually provide career advice for
Yeah.
PhDs. And I think the biggest challenge for PhDs is that they spend a lot of time in academia. And in academia, they are really kind of the success metrics for them is to become a professor or a researcher.
Okay.
This is what is defined for them. So a lot of them are not a lot of the time even aware of what are my options out there. And it's important. Most important thing to say is that it's okay to look outside of academia. Actually, there's not enough positions in academia for everyone. Actually, less than 10% of PhDs would continue and stay in academia, either as a postdoc position or as a professor position. So it's actually very important for us to take that group of 90% of researchers, scientists, PhDs, and tell them, hey, all career paths are viable for you.
Yeah.
And you should consider them while you're in your PhD. Going to consulting is an excellent one. Going to software, big tech companies are excellent one. Any career path that they want should be applicable for them. The question is what they want to do and how do they leverage what they learned during their PhD in order to get these jobs. And of course, what we offer is a fair door and say starting a company and being an entrepreneur is another viable career path.
I guess the PI that they work with, the PI went the academic route, so that's the way the PI knows. So then
that's one thing, and they are very much the KPIs, the key performance indicators for PIs are how much grant money they bring, and in order to get the grant money, they need to get more publications out there and get better publishing scores. So these are the angle, the lens that the PIs are looking at the world and are the PhDs, and therefore a lot of them would not necessarily think about, hey, maybe commercializing this research or building a company, or maybe thinking about, hey, have you considered your next steps after completing your PhD? Maybe you want to take a look at working at a tech or consulting or whatever it is going to be. I think that they should do that, because if they are in charge of the PhDs, it's not only their responsibility to train them as great researchers and scientists, but also to think about the day after their PhD and what they're going to do. having a good plan B is
Yeah.
important. Have good career services for the research community
Yeah.
is important. And we're doing our little part that we think that, a small percent of that group would be interested in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship is really hard. It's not for everyone. If someone wants to build a startup, then we want to be the best place to do it if they are a researcher scientist with a
Yeah.
PhD. PhD is, diving deep into one specific topic.
Okay.
But you sometimes need to look up and look at things from bird's eye view
Okay.
and say, okay, is this possible for me? Is it viable for me to stay in academia? How competitive are positions in academia? If 1 out of every 10 or 100 people get accepted to be a postdoc or a professor, then maybe I should consider a plan B as well.
For like a startup success, does it matter like how many papers were written about it, or is it more like how many transferred in patents?
That's a good, excellent question. I think that when we assess applications for our program, we're looking to see if someone stood out, excelled, made a big effort in specific ways. And it might be showing great publications. It might be showing amount of publication. It might be by saying, hey, while I was doing PhD, I started my own business, or I led a group of, or I built a new community, or assessing a specific leadership qualities that the individual has. We'll look at it from different perspectives, but definitely having great publications could be one thing to consider.
Yeah, like that's a way to show it excels.
Exactly.
Do like investors look at how many papers are published? Like, do customers look at how many papers are published?
I would say it depends. It depends on a few things. First of all, we had quite a few people that were co-inventors of the technology, licensing or building. So a lot of it would be, if we building IP and from IP developing patents, then they need to have some sort of lineage to research papers. So in that case, if you're building something that you create a moat, you create something that is protectable, then you build the patents around them, then you need to have certain publications. Again, we're not always looking for something that is necessarily, we're not examining it only from the lens of, is it protectable? Yeah. But it is true that it's protectable. Protectability, amount of IP, sometimes patents granted is something that is viable and helpful for us to make a decision if someone's applying to the program, should we accept them or not? Yeah.
How about like from the PI? There's a lot of Cornellians who are like professors at universities. What makes a good PI for encouraging entrepreneurship? What can PIs do to encourage it?
I met recently a professor that said, I had great publications, I have big lab with a lot of funding, and I don't mind so much the research anymore. I think that at this point in my career, I care about the impact that my research has made.
Interesting.
So it was an interesting perspective to learn and to see that someone is more interested in the impact that the technology and the research they had on the world, willing to and more open-minded for spending more time supporting the startup, maybe helping them with applying for more grants, maybe helping them with on the business and the commercializing aspect of it. So it was really interesting to see that. But again, different people are motivated by different things, and in academia, for researchers, we created an incentive system that is working right now. Is it working like, in a way that is encouraging for more technologies to get out there to the hands of customers? And it's a good question. Can we do better? Perhaps, maybe. I think that this is one thing that we're suggesting, trying to streamline innovation through venture creation in academia. Building more startups from the academic environment is what we're offering.
Yeah, so PIs start to think about that as well. And then they would have a lot of PhD students who would also
Definitely.
consider it.
Definitely.
Interesting. And then so for the closing question, I always ask the guest, what's the kindest thing anyone's ever done for you?
Love this question. Wow. I'll go back to mention someone I mentioned earlier, Jorge Torres, that has been working with our program. And I think that on his workshop, he talks about being thoughtful. And I think that I received a few notes, usually emails, that say how, people appreciate what you did with something specific. Not like I appreciate the general Tomer effort that he put in, but saying that they were thankful for something that I did and the impact that it made for them made me feel that it was kind and made me feel better and more invested in the work that I'm doing. And that's partially why I get up in the morning and bring energy to this project every day, because I want to help early stage founders to build technologies that would make the world a better place. And it's something I truly believe in. And I think it was motivated, a lot of it, by these notes that people wrote. If anybody listens to this, write a note to someone who did something nice for you and just say thank you. Say it was because of that specific thing they did. And hopefully we can pass it on to other people and be kind to other people.